Is your mind in control, or is it controlling you? There's a man, he wears a $1,000 suit, drives a sleek black car, and speaks in boardrooms where millions are moved with a single nod. He owns properties across cities, travels first class, and eats at the finest restaurants. To the world, he is in control, a master of his fate, a true success. But when the lights go out, and the applause dies down, he stares at the ceiling, heart racing, mind spiraling, unable to stop thinking. Unable to sleep, terrorized not by his enemies, but by his own mind. He controls a company, but cannot control his thoughts. He snaps at his assistant, overreacts to small delays, obsesses over market shifts, craves validation. Fears failure. He's not alone. He is you, he is me, he is all of us. When the mind becomes the master, and we, the prisoner, we like to believe we're in control, that we're rational, that we make our own choices. But if we pause, just for a moment, and really observe ourselves, we might see something different. Have you ever said something in anger, and instantly regretted it? Scrolled endlessly through your phone, not even knowing why? Felt anxious or jealous, even when nothing really happened? If yes, then you've experienced it too. The mind, untrained, unconscious, and reactive, pulling you like a puppet on invisible strings. But here's the beautiful truth: you can train the mind, you can break free from reactivity, you can reclaim control, not by force, but by understanding. The Buddha didn't teach dogma, he taught observation, awareness, clarity. The path begins with seeing clearly that we are, in fact, not fully in control, and that's not a weakness. That is the first step to awakening. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, and once you realize that, your journey to inner freedom truly begins. You can't fight an enemy you don't see, and in this silent war of the mind, our greatest enemies don't wear armor, they don't shout, they don't even speak, they whisper, they hide behind thoughts and feelings, they wear familiar faces, they become us. I want this. I hate that. I'm tired. I can't do this. Maybe later. Each thought seems harmless, but slowly, they form chains that bind the mind, not with force, but with illusion. In Buddhist teachings, there are 5 powerful forces that keep the mind clouded, restless, and reactive. They're called the 5 hindrances, in Pali, Nvara, literally meaning obstructions or coverings. These are the hidden enemies within. The first enemy wears a beautiful disguise. It tells you, you need that. You'll feel better after this. One more bite. One more scroll. One more night. It seduces you with pleasure, taste, touch, sound, sight, scent, but it never satisfies, because desire isn't about getting, it's about chasing. Like drinking salty water to quench thirst, the more you drink, the thirstier you become, and soon, you're no longer living, you're just chasing highs. From food, from attention, from the approval of others, from fleeting pleasure. But pleasure fades, and when it fades, suffering returns. The second enemy burns cold and quiet. It says, they shouldn't treat me like this. I hope they fail. I can't forgive them. This is unfair. Ill will is the mind's poison. It masks itself as justice, but underneath, it's resentment, bitterness, revenge. And while you're holding that anger, who's actually suffering? You are. It's like holding a hot coal, waiting to throw it, and burning yourself the whole time. The Buddha taught, hatred never ends through hatred, by love alone does it end. This is an eternal truth. Dhammapada. Verse 5, when your heart is filled with ill will, there is no space for peace, no space for clarity, no space for love. This third enemy is subtle. It doesn't attack, it numbs, it makes you tired when you're not tired, makes your eyes heavy when facing something meaningful. It fogs the mind, kills momentum, says things like, let's just rest. This is too hard. Maybe tomorrow. Let's scroll a bit first. It's not true rest, it's escape. Sloth and torpor destroy spiritual energy. They drag the mind into laziness, not the healthy kind, but the kind that keeps you asleep to your own suffering. Ever tried to sit still, but your mind was racing, What if I fail? What did they mean by that text? Should I have said something else? What if I never get better? What if? This is the fourth enemy, restlessness and worry. Like a monkey swinging from thought to thought, never landing, never still, it looks like intelligence, always thinking, but it's not wisdom, it's fear dressed as preparation, and fear is never satisfied, it always finds something to worry about, and the fifth enemy, the most dangerous of all, not doubt of others, not doubt of the world, but doubt of yourself. Can I really change? Is this path even working? I've tried, but I keep failing. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Doubt whispers, give up. Not with anger, but with despair, it weakens resolve, kills consistency, it tells you that effort is pointless, and the tragedy is, most people stop right before their breakthrough. Because they listen to this voice, but here's the truth, these hindrances are not who you are, they are visitors, clouds passing through the sky of your mind, they arise. And they pass, if you can see them, you don't have to be them, the Buddha didn't say, destroy these hindrances. He said, know them, observe them, and through awareness, they lose their power. Each time you bring mindfulness to a craving, it loses its grip, each time you see anger without feeding it, it weakens, each moment you sit with restlessness without running, you reclaim your power. The practice begins not in temples, but in the mind, right where you are, right now, remember this. You were not born broken, you were born into a world of noise, but beneath the noise, there is silence, and within that silence, is your true self, your awareness, your clarity, your peace. These enemies, they may return, but so can you, to the present, to the breath, to the only place where true control lives. The war within is not won by fighting, but by waking up. Let me ask you something, why do you get angry, why do you feel jealous, why do you chase one thing, and push another away? Have you ever stopped, and really tried to trace it back? We often say, I just snapped. It happened so fast. I didn't even think. But here's the truth, nothing just happens, every reaction, every emotion, every suffering, has a mechanism behind it, a pattern, a cause, a chain. Narrator, voice deepens, slow and precise. Over 2,500 years ago, the Buddha mapped this entire process in stunning detail. He called it, Paticca Samuppada, dependent origination, 12 links, one loop, the cycle of suffering. The process that keeps the mind enslaved. Even when you believe you're free, it begins with not seeing clearly, not understanding the nature of reality, not seeing that everything is impermanent, that nothing can truly satisfy, that the self we cling to is just a story. This is ignorance, the root of it all. When we are blind to truth, we react to illusions, we chase shadows, we fight ghosts. From this ignorance arises sakra, mental formations. These are your habits, your deep patterns, your unconscious tendencies, built up over years. Every time you reacted in anger, every craving you gave into, left a trace, and now, those traces react before you do. They're like old software, running the show while you sit in the back seat. These formations condition your consciousness, what you notice, what you ignore, what you interpret as threat or pleasure. You don't just see reality, you see your version of it, filtered through years of programming. You walk into a room, and the mind already decides, safe, dangerous, boring, exciting. You didn't choose that, it chose for you. Next comes Namarupa, name and form. This is your sense of identity. The body and mind system that says, I am this. This is me. This is mine. But is it? Is the thought I'm angry truly you, or just a sensation arising, a thought passing through awareness? The deeper we identify with mind and body, the tighter the chain becomes. Then come the 6 doors, the sense bases, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. These are the portals, the ways experience flows in, but they don't just receive, they also judge, like and dislike, attraction and aversion, every sound, every image, every word, filtered and labeled, before you even notice. the reaction has already begun. When a sense base meets an object and consciousness is present, contact happens. You hear a sound, you see a face, you feel a sensation. It seems neutral, but within milliseconds, the chain tightens. Because contact isn't just contact, it triggers the next link. Here is the turning point: Vedana, feeling, not emotional feeling. But pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. You touch something hot, unpleasant. You hear a compliment, pleasant. You see a tree, neutral. And this is where craving begins, not in the object, not in the world, but in how you feel about the contact. Feeling is the spark, reaction is the flame. From feeling arises ta, craving, wanting to hold on, wanting to push away, wanting something else. This is where most of our suffering lies. Not in the pain itself, but in our resistance to pain. Not in pleasure, but in our addiction to it. We don't suffer because we feel, we suffer because we crave. Craving evolves into clinging. Now we identify with it. We don't just want success, we become the successful person. We don't just enjoy the relationship, we become afraid to lose it. We say, this is my body, my belief, my identity. And anything that threatens it, threatens us. This clinging becomes a trap, a prison made of our own attachments. From clinging, we create bhava, becoming. This is the story of who we are: the achiever, the victim, the good one, the one who's always rejected, the one who must prove themselves. And once the story is written, the next moment follows automatically. This leads to jati, birth, not physical birth, but the birth of a new moment of self. The moment you get angry, you are born as the angry one. The moment you feel shame, you are born as the unworthy one. We keep being reborn in our emotions, in our reactions, in our beliefs, and each birth inevitably leads to the final link, and that is suffering, aging, death, loss, despair, not just physically, but the constant dying of hope, the aging of happiness, the death of every moment we try to hold on to. This is the cycle, this is samsara. But there is good news. If this process is built on links, then it can be broken by awareness, and it all begins with Vedana, feeling. If you can sit with feeling, without craving, without clinging, you don't create the next link, you end the cycle, right there, in that moment. That is where true freedom begins. You are not your past, not your patterns, not your reactions. You are the one who can see it all, and the one who sees is no longer a slave. The Buddha did not teach escape, he taught understanding, and through understanding comes liberation. The mind is not the enemy, unawareness is, and when awareness returns, the chain breaks. Let me ask you something: how much of your life are you actually in control of? I mean really. In control, you plan your day, but the traffic doesn't care. You prepare your words, but the other person misunderstands. You want peace, but the mind screams anyway. What if the very thing you call control is the source of your deepest suffering? There is a quiet tragedy playing out in almost every life. It goes like this: I will be happy once I control everything. My environment, my future, my emotions, my success, my body, other people. And what happens when things don't go your way? You tighten your grip, you try harder, you push, manipulate, demand, you fight with the world. And lose, every single time. Inside your own mind lives a quiet tyrant, a voice that says, I must be liked. I have to succeed. This shouldn't be happening. I can't let them win. I need to control this outcome. You may not even notice it, because it sounds like you, but that voice isn't peace, it's tension, it's fear in disguise, it's the ego trying to manage what was never in its hands. In Buddhism, we call this the mind of Upadana, clinging. It's not just grasping at pleasure, it's grasping at control, and the tighter we cling, the more the world slips through our fingers, like trying to hold water in a fist. There's a deep difference between control and clarity. Control is force, clarity is presence. Control says, I must fix this. Clarity says, let me understand this. Control reacts, clarity observes. Control is rooted in fear, clarity arises from stillness. When the Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, he didn't try to control the mind, he watched it, he saw it chasing pleasure, avoiding pain, fearing loss, clinging to identity. He saw it clearly, and in that clarity, he found freedom, not by controlling every thought, but by no longer being controlled by them. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. The more you try to control your mind, the more it resists. The more you observe your mind with compassion, the more it softens. You don't need to conquer your thoughts, you just need to stop believing them. Look around. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to micromanage life? You plan every detail and still end up disappointed. You rehearse every conversation and still feel misunderstood. You control your image, your words, your timeline, and still feel insecure, because control doesn't create safety. It creates pressure, and that pressure becomes your suffering. Think of a river. You can dam it, you can divert it, you can even build walls around it, but eventually, it will overflow, break, crash, flood. You cannot master life through force, you must learn to flow with it. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. Now, don't misunderstand. Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it doesn't mean becoming passive, it means doing your part, without the illusion that you control the outcome. It means showing up with effort, but leaving space for life to unfold. It means caring deeply, without needing to grip tightly, like holding a bird gently, or loving someone without trying to own them. Ironically, the mind that tries hardest to control is often the most chaotic. It wants silence, but resists stillness. It wants love, but fears rejection. It wants peace, but judges everything. This is because control is rooted in fear, but there is another way. A mind trained in mindfulness doesn't seek to control experience, it seeks to understand it, and that understanding is the beginning of inner mastery. When a thought arose, the Buddha saw it arise. When a feeling passed through the body, he noticed its texture, its temperature, its movement. He did not say, "This must stop." He said, "This is here." And in that moment, the craving ended, the chain broke, and liberation began. This is the path the Buddha laid before us. Not to conquer the world, but to understand the world within, not to control every emotion, but to learn from them, to become the observer, not the victim, to become the witness, not the prisoner, to sit with joy without clinging, to sit with pain without resisting, to sit with fear without running. That is the mind trained in the Dharma, that is the heart of a free human being. The world does not need your control. It needs your presence, your awareness, your stillness. 4. The storm outside can only shake the house that is hollow within. There's a common mistake on the spiritual path, a subtle misunderstanding that quietly infects even the most devoted seekers. We believe that silencing the mind is the same as freeing it. We imagine freedom as this perfect stillness, no thoughts, no emotions, no noise. But here's the truth, silence alone is not freedom. Freedom is wisdom in action. How many times have you tried to meditate, only to fight your own thoughts? You sat down to find peace, but instead found a war zone. The mind screamed louder, the body grew tense, and you felt like a failure. Why? Because you weren't meditating, you were trying to control, you weren't present with your experience. You were rejecting it. You see, even the desire for silence can be a form of aversion. It says, "This moment isn't good enough. This thought must go away. This feeling should not exist." And in that moment, you are no longer free, you are resisting life again, wrapped in the disguise of spirituality. In Buddhist teachings, we speak of panna, wisdom, not intellectual knowledge, not blind belief, but deep, direct understanding, the kind of seeing that penetrates illusion, the kind of knowing that does not push life away, but sees into its very nature. The Buddha didn't escape thoughts, he saw them clearly. He didn't fight desire, he studied it like a scientist. He didn't suppress fear, he followed it to its roots. He became intimate with his suffering, and in doing so, he understood it, and what we understand no longer controls us. So what is true freedom? Not a blank mind, not perfect peace, not a life without problems, but a mind that is not disturbed by problems. A heart that remains open in every moment. Freedom is the wisdom to be fully here, without clinging, without resisting, without fear. There's an old story from the Thai forest tradition. A monk once asked his teacher, Ajahn Chah, "Master, I've been meditating for years. I've tried every technique. But my mind is never quiet. What am I doing wrong?" Ajahn Chah smiled and asked, "Are you trying to silence the mind, or trying to understand it?" The monk was confused. Isn't silence the goal? Ajahn Chah replied, "No. Wisdom is the goal. Silence can come and go, but wisdom remains." That answer changed the monk's life. He stopped trying to shut his mind up, and began to listen. And in that listening, he found something more profound than peace. He found truth. You see, you don't have to wait for your mind to be silent to be free. You don't have to eliminate all thoughts to be awake. You don't have to kill your ego to be spiritual. You only need to see clearly, and from that seeing, choose wisely. That is the fire of discernment. The Buddha awakened beneath the Bodhi tree, and that fire still burns in you. Let's make this practical. Let's say anger arises. A mind obsessed with silence will say, "This shouldn't be here. Get rid of it." But a wise mind says, "Ah, anger. Let me observe you." Let's say fear appears. The controlling mind says, "Breathe it away. Hide it. Pretend it's not there." But wisdom says, "Hello, fear. What are you trying to protect me from?" This is not detachment, this is intimate awareness. You start seeing emotions like passing guests. You welcome them, you serve them tea, you ask them questions, and slowly, they reveal their secrets. They show you your wounds, your desires, your illusions, and in that seeing, you begin to heal. Paradoxically, when wisdom arises, silence often follows naturally, not the silence of suppression, but the silence of understanding. Like a storm that no longer needs to rage, because it has been heard. Like a child that stops crying, because someone finally listened. The Buddha didn't teach self-denial, nor did he teach self-indulgence. He taught the middle way. And that middle way is paved with wisdom, not forcing yourself to be calm, not giving in to every desire, but learning to be with whatever is, with deep compassion and clear seeing. Remember this, your mind is not broken, your thoughts are not evil, your emotions are not mistakes, they are messengers, they carry the stories of your life, and wisdom doesn't kill the messenger. Wisdom learns to listen with love, and walk in peace, regardless of what arrives. Freedom is not the absence of thought, it's the presence of wisdom. It's not about building walls of silence, but walking freely in the wildness of the mind. For a wise person can walk into chaos, and remain undisturbed, and that is a greater silence than any soundless cave. Imagine this, a wild elephant has been roaming the jungle for years, untamed, unpredictable, driven by instinct and emotion. It crashes through trees, stampedes through villages, and runs wherever it pleases. Now imagine. That elephant is your mind. This is how the Buddha described the untrained mind, like a wild elephant, enormous in power, but dangerous when uncontrolled, not because it is evil, but because it is untrained. Your mind is capable of extraordinary things, creativity, compassion, concentration, insight, but without training, it becomes a slave to habit and reaction. One moment, it chases pleasure, the next, it fights pain, it remembers an insult for 10 years. And forgets a kindness in 10 seconds, it tells you lies, it worries about things that never happen, it makes up stories about the future, and suffers from them now. And here's the worst part, it does all of this, and then blames you for feeling miserable. The Buddha didn't wake up one day with a perfect mind, he trained it, day after day, breath after breath, thought after thought, with patience, with discipline, and most importantly, with compassion. He understood something vital. You can't tame a wild elephant by beating it, you tame it by building trust. You don't fight the mind into submission, you guide it, like a gentle, wise mahout with his elephant. Most people try to control their mind with force. They sit in meditation and say, "Shut up. Be still. Stop thinking. Focus." And when the mind wanders, they get angry, ashamed, frustrated, they believe they've failed. But let me ask you, would you speak to a child that way? Then why speak to your own heart like that? What if, instead of punishing your mind, you began to understand it? What if you spoke to it with the voice of compassion? Ah, you're restless today. Let's breathe together. You're afraid. I see you. Let's stay here, gently. You're wandering again. That's okay. Let's return. This is not weakness, this is how true discipline is born, not through fear, but through love. In ancient India, trainers didn't chain elephants harshly, instead, they tied them with a soft rope and stayed nearby, not with punishment, but with presence. Day after day, the elephant learned, this person is not here to hurt me, they are here to understand me. And slowly, the wildness calmed, the power remained, but the chaos faded. Your mind is the same, it doesn't need to be crushed, it needs consistent presence. That's what mindfulness is. It's not a war against thoughts, it's a friendship with your experience, a daily reminder, I am here with you. I will not abandon you. Let's take this step together. You see, most of us don't live life. We live in reaction to life. Something happens, and we react. Someone disrespects us, and we lash out. We fail, and we spiral in shame. We feel fear, and we run. We've been conditioned like this for years, but the trained mind says, pause. Observe. Choose. And in that pause, is where freedom begins. The wild elephant pauses before charging, the mind pauses before reacting, and suddenly, we are no longer puppets of habit, we are human beings again. The goal is not to eliminate the elephant, the goal is to trust it, to walk beside your mind, and know it will not turn on you in anger, to sit with your thoughts, and not be overwhelmed by them, to feel emotion, without drowning in it. This is not perfection, this is maturity, and maturity is the fruit of gentle, steady practice. It won't always be easy, there will be days when the mind storms. When the elephant runs wild again, but that's okay, you don't lose progress, you don't start over, you simply return to the rope, to the breath, to the practice, because every time you return, you become stronger. Every time you meet your fear with kindness, you heal a wound. Every time you watch your anger instead of feeding it, you break a cycle. Every time you forgive yourself for wandering, you grow, and slowly, the wild elephant becomes your ally, powerful, majestic, centered. There comes a moment in every practitioner's journey, when the mind, once a source of suffering, becomes a tool of wisdom. You wake up, and it doesn't pull you into anxiety, you feel anger. And it doesn't control your words, you remember the past, and it doesn't define you anymore. This is not magic, this is the result of compassionate training, the daily act of walking with your mind, instead of against it. So, train your mind, but train it with compassion. Discipline it with patience, guide it with love, meet it with presence, because the wild elephant within you is not your enemy, it is your strength, waiting to be tamed. And when you finally walk beside it, not ahead, not behind, but side by side, you will know the rarest feeling in this world, a mind at peace, a power in balance, a self that no longer needs to be escaped. There is a place, right at the heart of a violent storm, where everything is still, no wind, no chaos, no noise, just silence. That place is called the eye of the storm, and strangely enough, it's also the most powerful place to be. Let's be honest, the world we live in doesn't slow down, it shouts, it pulls, it pressures, it demands, work deadlines, family drama, financial stress, endless distractions, breaking news every hour. Most people live like they're stuck inside the storm, spinning and spinning and spinning, and they wonder, why can't I feel peace? Because true peace isn't found outside the storm, it's found in the center of it, in the eye, and that's where we must learn to live. The Buddha didn't teach us how to escape life, he taught us how to face it, with a steady heart and a clear mind. He didn't say, quit your job, leave society, hide in a cave. No, he said, be in the world, but not of it. live among chaos. But stay unmoved. He taught us how to build a center so strong that no storm could destroy it. That center isn't found somewhere out there, it's inside you, it's your breath, it's your awareness, it's your practice. The eye of the storm is not a place, it's a state of being. Imagine this, you're walking through a crowded street, people are rushing, horns are honking, phones are buzzing, but inside you, there's a stillness. A presence, a space. You hear the sounds, but you're not pulled by them, you feel emotions, but you're not controlled by them, you're not numb, you're fully alive, but unshakable. That's the power of a mind trained to rest in the eye of the storm. Let's be clear, you don't find your center during the storm, you find it before. The storm reveals what you've trained for. When grief comes, you either drown, or you float. When anger flares, you either erupt, or you witness. When pressure mounts, you either collapse, or you rise. That's why we meditate, that's why we study, that's why we breathe deeply, every single day, not to become superhuman, but to become stable, so when life shakes, we don't shake with it, we anchor in the present, we hold our center, and from that center, we make clear decisions, we speak with kindness, we live with clarity. The untrained mind reacts, the trained mind responds. A reaction is automatic, triggered, chaotic, a response is conscious, deliberate, peaceful, and the difference, a split second of awareness, that space between stimulus and response, that's your superpower. And it's born from practice, so the next time someone insults you, don't react, breathe. Return to center, let the storm swirl outside you, but not inside you. In one ancient teaching, a monk was asked how he stayed peaceful, while living among difficult people. He said, "I became like a wall, words hit me and fell." He wasn't being cold, he was being still. Stillness doesn't mean shutting down, it means becoming so grounded, that nothing knocks you over. Can you imagine that? Your anger arises, and you see it like a wave on the ocean, it crashes and dissolves. Your anxiety appears, and you greet it like an old friend, it trembles and fades. Your sorrow returns, but you sit beside it like a wise elder, it weeps and then lets go. This is the life lived in the eye of the storm. Peace doesn't mean the waves stop, it means you learn how to surf. You don't fight the tide, you flow with it, and when it crashes, you fall with grace, and rise again with wisdom. No need to control everything, just stay centered, just ride the wave, and trust, you are bigger than any emotion, you are deeper than any problem. Don't mistake calmness for coldness, the master still feels, they cry, they laugh, they get hurt. But they don't become lost in it. Why? Because they've built space, space between them and their thoughts, space between them and their emotions, space between them and the world, and in that space, they find peace. You can do the same. Even in traffic, even in heartbreak, even in chaos, build that space, return to the breath, anchor in awareness, hold your ground, and suddenly, you're in the eye again, still, present, unmoved. You don't have to wait for the world to calm down, because the world might never calm down, but you can, right now, in this moment. The storm may be loud, but the eye is always here, in the breath, in the pause, in the practice. So next time life spins you in circles, don't run, stop, stand still, and remember, you were never meant to escape the storm, you were meant to become the eye. There comes a moment, after all the storms, after all the searching, after all the lessons learned, you no longer look out there for peace, you realize, the home you were looking for was always within you, and in that realization, you stop chasing, you begin living. In the beginning of this journey, we saw what it's like to be ruled by an uncontrolled mind, one pulled by every thought, emotion, and distraction. We've walked through awareness, discipline, letting go, and presence. We've seen how pain can teach, how breath can center, and how storms can reveal our strength, and now, we return home, not to where we started, but to who we've become. The uncontrolled mind is always chasing. I'll be happy when. I'll be peaceful if. I just need this one thing. But the trained mind doesn't chase, it doesn't need conditions to be okay, it simply rests, like a calm lake, like a candle in a windless room. It's not because life got easier, it's because you got deeper. You no longer react to everything. You no longer cling to every emotion. You no longer try to fix every moment. Because now you know, nothing needs to be fixed, everything just needs to be seen clearly. You used to think freedom meant doing what you wanted, when you wanted, how you wanted, but that wasn't freedom, that was impulse. True freedom is being free from your impulses. Free from the grip of anger, free from the weight of comparison, free from the addiction to control. Now that's real liberation, and it doesn't look flashy, it looks still. The world may still swirl, people may still judge, plans may still break, but your peace, unshaken, your awareness, rooted, your presence, unmoved, that's the power of a mind that's not disturbed by the undisturbable. Picture this, a great tree in a thunderstorm. The winds roar, the branches shake, leaves fly, but the roots, they go deep, they hold firm. You are that tree now. Life may shake your branches, but your roots are firm in the Dharma, in mindfulness, in the path. You don't resist life, you hold your seat in it. There's a stillness you can carry into every room, every meeting, every hard conversation, every heartbreak. It's not something you do. It's something you are. It's the result of all the practice, all the letting go, all the showing up for yourself. You don't need to force it anymore. You simply return to it, like a monk returns to his monastery, like a bird returns to its nest, like the breath returns to the body. You've also realized this. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to be seen, praised, or validated, because you're not hungry anymore. Your soul has been fed by stillness, and a mind that is full doesn't need to shout. It listens, it observes, it smiles, and in that quiet confidence, there is peace. The greatest warriors of the mind are the gentlest ones, because gentleness doesn't mean weakness, it means you've dropped the armor, the ego, the resistance. You no longer fight everything. Instead, you flow, you adapt, you love, even in hardship. You bow, not in defeat, but in wisdom, because you know, the one who bows stands tallest in spirit. And so, the journey ends here, but it also begins here, because every time you return to the present moment, you return home, and this home, it has no walls, no keys, no locks, just a breath, just awareness, just peace. So what now? You live, fully, gently, wisely. You continue your practice, not to get anywhere, but to remain here, rooted, aware, free. Because now you know, you don't need to control the mind, you only need to understand it, and in that understanding, the mind softens, and when the mind softens, everything becomes clear. You no longer separate practice from daily life, your morning commute. Practice, your parenting. Practice, your heartbreaks and your joys. All practice, you are no longer doing Buddhism. You are living it, with every step, every breath, every word, and that is the return home. Peace is not a place you go to, it's a presence you live from. So wherever you go from here, may your steps be grounded, may your heart remain open, and may your mind stay undisturbed. May you live as the stillness within the storm. Subscribe to continue your journey. Zen Buddhism Wisdom.